My ex-boyfriend secretly filmed me for months and sold the footage. I never thought I'd be Googling revenge porn laws at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, but here I was, my laptop screen burning my eyes as I scrolled through legal websites with shaking hands. The email from my college friend Jessica was still open in another tab, the subject line haunting me, Sarah. I think you need to see this. The link she'd sent led to a forum I'd never heard of, one of those seedy corners of the internet where men trade explicit videos like baseball cards. And there I was, thumbnail after thumbnail, in Marcus's old apartment. The apartment where I'd spent nearly 2 years of my life, where I'd cooked him dinner, where I'd walked around in my underwear feeling completely safe and loved. Feeling like an idiot. The usernames made my stomach turn. HotGF2022_Marcus had uploaded 47 videos over the past 3 months. 47. The descriptions were clinical and disgusting: ex-girlfriend changing clothes, unaware, private phone call with mom, post-shower footage. Each one had a price tag. $15 for the shorter clips, $50 for the longer ones. The top-selling video, labeled Anniversary Night Special, had been purchased 847 times. I did the math through my tears. Marcus had made at least $30,000 selling my privacy, my intimacy, my trust. Money he'd earned from moments when I thought I was alone, or worse, moments when I thought I was sharing something beautiful with someone who loved me. The comments were the worst part. Strangers dissecting my body, rating different angles, requesting specific acts. Some had even figured out details about my life, my university, my major, the coffee shop where I worked part-time during our relationship. One comment made my blood run cold. Think I've seen this chick around downtown. Hot teacher type. I slammed the laptop shut and ran to the bathroom, barely making it to the toilet before throwing up. When I was done dry heaving, I sat on the cold tile floor of my studio apartment and tried to remember how to breathe. Marcus and I had broken up 6 months ago. It wasn't messy, at least, I didn't think it was. He'd said he needed space to figure himself out, that he wasn't ready for the kind of commitment I wanted. I'd been hurt but understanding. I'd even let him keep some of my books and that stupid succulent I bought for his windowsill. Now I understood why he'd been so insistent that I always come to his place instead of mine. Why he'd gotten weird whenever I wanted to clean or rearrange things. Why he'd sometimes acted distracted when we were being intimate, like part of his attention was somewhere else. Because it was. Part of his attention was on the cameras. I forced myself to open the laptop again. I had to know how bad this was. The forum had a search function, and when I typed in variations of my name, 3 more accounts popped up. Different usernames, same apartment, same violation. He'd been doing this for longer than 3 months. My phone buzzed. A text from my current boyfriend, David. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Love you. Sweet, trusting David, who had no idea he was dating someone whose naked body was currently being sold to strangers across the internet. Someone who might be recognized walking down the street, at job interviews, at family dinners. I turned off my phone and opened a new browser tab. If Marcus thought he could destroy my life for profit, he was about to learn exactly what kind of mistake he'd made. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in 8 months. My boss, Janet, didn't question it. Apparently I sounded as destroyed as I felt. I spent the day creating accounts on every platform I could think of, searching for my face, my body, my stolen moments. What I found made the forum look like amateur hour. Marcus hadn't just uploaded to one site. He'd created an entire network. On Streamvault, user private collection_m had a premium channel with 2,847 subscribers paying $19.99 monthly for exclusive unaware girlfriend content. The channel description promised authentic, candid footage of real relationship intimacy and boasted about over 100 hours of premium content. I calculated quickly, he was pulling in over $50,000 a month from subscriptions alone. But it got worse. So much worse. On personal vids, he'd created elaborate backstories for different videos. The footage of me crying during a phone call with my mom about my dad's cancer diagnosis was titled Emotional Brunette Receives Bad News, Genuine Tears. The video where I was practicing my job interview answers in his bathroom mirror. Ambitious girlfriend prepares for career, cute and nervous. He turned my most vulnerable moments into fetish content for strangers. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type, but I kept digging. On Candid Captures, I found something that made my blood freeze entirely. Recent uploads. Videos dated from last week. That was impossible. We'd been broken up for 6 months, and I'd never been back to his apartment. But there I was on screen, clear as day, in what looked like my gym's locker room. The timestamp showed Tuesday at 6:23 p.m., exactly when I'd been at my weekly yoga class. I knew that locker room like the back of my hand. I'd been changing in the same corner spot for 3 years. But now I was seeing it from an angle I'd never considered, from inside one of the lockers with the broken doors that no one ever used. The realization hit me like ice water. Marcus hadn't stopped when we broke up. He'd escalated. I screenshot everything, my fingers moving on autopilot while my brain tried to process this new level of violation. He was following me. Watching me. Installing cameras in my regular spaces and selling footage of my daily life to thousands of strangers. The gym videos were categorized under public stalking series and came with premium price tags, $75 each because of the risk factor involved in acquisition. The descriptions made me nauseous: target unaware of surveillance, real-time stalking footage, authentic public privacy violations. Scrolling through the comments, I found something that stopped my heart entirely. Dude, I think I work with this chick. She's starting at Morrison and Associates next month. Gonna be interesting seeing her around the office smirking face. Morrison and Associates. My new job. The marketing firm where I was supposed to start my career in exactly 3 weeks. The job I'd spent months interviewing for, the one that finally felt like my real life was beginning. Someone at my new workplace, someone who would be my colleague, who I'd have to sit in meetings with, who I'd make small talk with by the coffee machine, had paid money to watch me undress. Had seen me in my most private moments and was now planning to, what? Blackmail me? Humiliate me? Make my work life hell? I grabbed my phone and called Jessica. Jess, I need help. This is so much bigger than we thought. Jessica arrived at my apartment within an hour, armed with her laptop, a bag of stress-eating snacks, and the kind of grim determination that reminded me why we'd been friends since freshman orientation. She took one look at my face and immediately started brewing coffee. "Show me everything," she said, settling cross-legged on my couch. For the next 2 hours, we dove deeper into Marcus's digital empire than I'd managed alone. Jessica, bless her computer science degree, knew which tools to use and which dark corners of the internet to check. What we found painted a picture so much worse than I'd imagined. "Sarah," Jessica said, her voice tight. "Look at this." She'd found Marcus's seller profile on something called Exclusive Leaks. His bio made my skin crawl: professional content creator specializing in authentic, unaware female subjects. 2 years experience in long-term relationship documentation. Now expanding into lifestyle surveillance. Custom requests welcomed. Custom requests. My stomach dropped. "There's more," Jessica continued, clicking through to a message board I hadn't seen before. "He's not working alone." The thread was titled Surveillance Collaboration, Split Profits, and had over 200 replies. Marcus, posting under Documentarian M, had detailed instructions for other users on camera placement, legal loopholes, and profit maximization. But worse than his how to post were his collaboration offers. Seeking local partners for expanded subject monitoring, one post read. Have established income stream from primary target, brunette, 24, marketing professional. Looking to coordinate multi-location surveillance. 60/40 split for equipment placement assistance. 3 users had responded with interest. One claimed to have gym access and locker room placement experience. Another mentioned workplace infiltration capabilities and office building maintenance connections. They were talking about me like I was a business venture. Jesus, Sarah. Look at this timestamp. Jessica pointed to a post from yesterday. He's planning something for your first day at Morrison and Associates. The post made my blood run cold. Target starts new job Monday, October 15th, downtown office building, 42nd floor. Seeking partner with building access for workplace documentation setup. High-value content opportunity, professional wardrobe, office bathroom facilities, potential conference room scenarios. Estimated monthly revenue increase, $15,000 plus. Someone had already replied, I service HVAC for several downtown buildings. Can arrange after-hours access for equipment installation. Standard 50-50 split? They were planning to plant cameras in my new workplace before I even started. My phone rang, making both of us jump. David's name flashed on the screen. I can't, I whispered to Jessica. I can't talk to him right now. She answered for me. Hey David, it's Jess. Sarah's dealing with some family stuff today, can she call you back tonight? I listened to her lie smoothly while staring at the screen showing strangers planning to violate my privacy for profit. When she hung up, I felt the weight of how this was already changing everything in my life. We need to call the police, Jessica said. With what? Half of this stuff might be legal gray area, and the other half. I gestured helplessly at the screen. How do I walk into a police station and explain that my ex-boyfriend has been running a revenge porn empire and is now coordinating with strangers to stalk me? The same way you just explained it to me. Sarah, this isn't just revenge porn anymore. This is organized criminal activity. Conspiracy. Stalking. And if they're planning to break into your workplace to install surveillance equipment, that's breaking and entering, maybe even burglary. I was quiet for a long moment, watching the message board refresh with new comments on Marcus's posts. More collaborators. More strangers eager to profit from my humiliation. There's something else, I finally said. I think I know who the person at Morrison and Associates is. Jessica looked up from her laptop, coffee mug frozen halfway to her lips. What do you mean you know who it is? My stomach churned as I pulled up the Morrison and Associates website on my phone. During my final interview, I met this guy Ryan Chen. He's in IT support, seemed nice enough. But when I was leaving, he made this weird comment about how he was looking forward to getting to know me better around the office. I scrolled through the employee directory until I found his photo. At the time I thought he was just being friendly, but the way he said it. And he lingered by the elevator, asking about my schedule, what time I usually work out. That could be coincidence, Jessica said, but her voice lacked conviction. Look at this. I showed her Ryan's LinkedIn profile. He started at Morrison 3 months ago. Right around the time Marcus's uploads shifted to higher quality equipment. I felt sick saying it out loud. What if they've been planning this since I got the job offer? Jessica's fingers flew across her keyboard. Give me his full name and any other details you remember. While she worked, I forced myself to keep reading Marcus's posts. In a thread from 2 weeks ago, he'd written, primary target secured high-value employment. Inside contact confirmed. Investment in professional-grade micro cameras approved, $3,000 equipment budget allocated. ROI projected at 500% within first quarter. $3,000 in camera equipment. For me. To document my new job, my fresh start, the career I'd worked so hard for. Found him, Jessica announced grimly. Ryan Chen, 28, IT specialist at Morrison and Associates. But here's the interesting part, before Morrison, he worked for a company called Discrete Digital Solutions. Never heard of it. That's because it doesn't really exist anymore. But I found cached pages from their website. They sold personal security and surveillance equipment, basically spy cameras and hidden recording devices. Jessica turned her laptop toward me. And look who wrote a glowing review for their products 8 months ago. The review was signed M. Stevens, Marcus's last name, and praised the company's undetectable wireless cameras and foolproof concealment solutions. My apartment felt like it was shrinking. They'd been planning this for months. Maybe since before we even broke up. It gets worse. Jessica's voice was barely above a whisper. I cross-referenced the timeline of Marcus's posts with Ryan's employment history. Ryan didn't just randomly get hired at Morrison. He applied there the same week you got your final interview. The room spun around me. You're saying he got the job specifically to spy on me? I'm saying the timing is suspicious as hell. And look at this dash, she pulled up another forum thread. Ryan's not just helping with workplace surveillance. He's been posting on these boards for over a year under the username TechGhost. He's got his own collection of workplace subjects from his previous jobs. I read over her shoulder, my hands trembling. TechGhost had detailed posts about installing cameras in office bathrooms, break rooms, and even inside computer equipment that sat on women's desks. His signature line made my blood freeze. The best surveillance targets never know they're being watched until it's too late. Sarah, Jessica said quietly, I think Marcus found Ryan through these forums. I think they specifically targeted your new job because Ryan specializes in workplace infiltration. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Looking forward to working with you Monday. The office is going to be so much more interesting with you around. A friend. I showed Jessica the message. Her face went pale. We're calling the police right now, she said, already reaching for her phone. This isn't just about revenge porn anymore. This is a coordinated conspiracy to stalk and exploit you, and they're about to escalate it to your workplace. But even as she dialed 911, I wondered if we were already too late. The police officer who responded to our call looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Officer Martinez sat in my tiny kitchen, notebook balanced on his knee, while Jessica and I tried to explain the scope of what we'd discovered. Every few minutes, he'd glance at his watch or look toward the door like he was already planning his exit. So let me get this straight, he said, clicking his pen for the fourth time. Your ex-boyfriend posted some videos online, and now you think someone at your new job is involved? It's not some videos, I said, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. It's an organized operation. They've made over $80,000 selling footage of me without my consent, and they're planning to install cameras in my workplace. Martinez wrote something down, but I could tell he wasn't really getting it. Have you actually seen these cameras being installed? No, but... Has anyone from your new job actually threatened you directly? The text message. Could be from anyone. Could be a wrong number. He flipped his notebook closed. Look, I understand you're upset about the videos. You can file a complaint about that. But the rest of this, it sounds like you're connecting dots that might not be connected. After he left, promising to look into it with all the enthusiasm of someone agreeing to clean gutters, Jessica and I sat in my living room feeling deflated and more vulnerable than before. He didn't even write down the website names, I said, staring at the business card Martinez had left behind. Cops don't understand cybercrimes, Jessica replied, already opening her laptop again. But I know someone who might actually help us. She called her older brother Kevin, who worked in cybersecurity for a major bank. Within 20 minutes, he was at my door with a toolkit that looked like something from a spy movie and an expression that told me he was taking this seriously in a way the police officer hadn't. Show me everything, Kevin said, settling at my kitchen table. For the next hour, Kevin traced digital footprints with a precision that left me dizzy. He found server logs, payment histories, and connection patterns that painted an even clearer picture of the conspiracy. This is sophisticated, he said grimly. Marcus isn't some amateur uploading random videos. Look at this payment structure. He showed us a diagram he'd created mapping the money flow. Marcus had established multiple shell accounts across different platforms, each feeding into a central cryptocurrency wallet. But more disturbing were the regular payments going out from that wallet to other accounts, including one that Kevin had traced to Ryan Chen. Ryan's been getting paid $2,500 monthly for the past 3 months, Kevin explained. Always on the 15th. Always the exact same amount. That's not collaboration money, Jessica said. That's a salary. Exactly. Marcus isn't just working with Ryan, he's employing him. Kevin pulled up more financial records. And look at this. Ryan received a $5,000 bonus payment last Tuesday, the day after Sarah got her start date confirmation from Morrison. My stomach dropped. I'd been so excited about that email confirming my October 15th start date. I'd forwarded it to my parents, to David, posted about it on social media. I'd had no idea that confirmation was worth $5,000 to the people planning to exploit me. There's something else, Kevin continued, his expression darkening. I found encrypted communications between Marcus and Ryan discussing other targets. Sarah, you're not their only victim. He showed us a list of names with details that made my blood run cold. Jennifer K., law firm receptionist, installed cameras successful, revenue stream established. Amanda R., graphic designer, workplace access pending. Lisa M., graduate student, dormitory surveillance active. 12 names total. 12 women who had no idea their private moments were being sold online while strangers planned to expand their surveillance. We need those other women's contact information, I said immediately. They deserve to know. Kevin nodded. I'm working on it. But Sarah, there's something more immediate you need to see. He pulled up what looked like a project timeline titled Operation Fresh Start. My blood turned to ice as I read Marcus's detailed plan for my first month at Morrison and Associates. Camera installation was scheduled for this Friday night, 3 days from now. They'd mapped out my likely bathroom habits, lunch schedule, even which conference rooms I'd probably use based on my job description. But the final entry on the timeline made me feel physically sick. November 1st, confrontation and negotiation phase begins. What does that mean? I whispered. Kevin's jaw was tight. I think it means they're planning to blackmail you. The word blackmail hung in the air like smoke. I stared at Kevin's screen, at Marcus's timeline with my name scattered across it like I was some kind of project to be managed and monetized. Look at this, Kevin continued, clicking through more encrypted files. They've documented everything about your routine. Coffee shop visits, gym schedule, even the route you take to your parents' house. He paused on a spreadsheet that made my knees weak. Sarah, they know you have a savings account with $12,000. They know about your student loans. They've calculated exactly how much you could afford to pay them monthly to keep this quiet. The number highlighted in red was $800. They wanted $800 a month, nearly half my new salary, to stop selling footage of me to strangers. But here's what doesn't make sense, Jessica said, leaning over Kevin's shoulder. Why set up workplace surveillance if they're planning to blackmail her? Wouldn't they want to stay hidden? Kevin's expression grew darker. Because blackmail is just phase 1. He opened another file. Phase 2 is what they call expanded content creation with subject cooperation. I didn't want to know, but I had to ask. What does that mean? They're planning to force you to create content willingly. Using the existing footage as leverage, they want you to start making videos on command. Custom requests from their highest paying subscribers. Kevin's voice was steady, clinical, but I could see the anger in his eyes. The workplace cameras aren't just for surveillance, they're for creating content that looks consensual but isn't. My legs gave out. I sank onto the couch, my mind reeling. They want to turn me into their employee. More like their slave, Jessica said quietly. Kevin kept clicking through files. Marcus has done this before. I found records of 2 other women who went through the same progression. First the secret recording, then the online sales, then blackmail, then... He stopped. Then what? Then they disappeared from the forums entirely. No more content, no more mentions. Either they paid indefinitely, or they found a way out, I finished, hoping that was what he meant. But Kevin shook his head. Sarah, I don't think they found a way out. I think Marcus and Ryan got everything they wanted from them and moved on to new targets. Look at the timeline, both women went silent right after Marcus received large lump sum payments. $15,000 in one case, $23,000 in another. Severance pay, I whispered, understanding. They'd bled these women dry and then disappeared, leaving them with nothing but the trauma and the knowledge that their intimate moments were still circulating somewhere online. My phone buzzed. A text from David, dinner tomorrow night? I made reservations at that Italian place you mentioned. Sweet, innocent David who wanted to take me on romantic dates while strangers were paying to watch videos of me changing clothes. How could I sit across from him at dinner knowing that some of the men at nearby tables might recognize me? Might have paid $50 to see me naked? We have to stop them before Friday, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. Before they get those cameras installed. Kevin nodded. I'm going to keep digging through their communications, see if I can find more details about their timeline. But Sarah, you need to contact Morrison and Associates. Even if the police won't take this seriously yet, your employer needs to know their building security might be compromised. And say what? Hi, I'm your new hire, and my ex-boyfriend is planning to plant spy cameras in your office to film me? They'll rescind the job offer before I hang up. Maybe, Jessica said. Or maybe they'll take building security seriously enough to help us catch these bastards in the act. As if summoned by our conversation, my phone rang. The caller ID showed Morrison and Associates HR department. We all stared at the phone for 3 rings before I finally answered. Sarah? This is Monica from HR. I hope I'm not calling too late, but we've had a small scheduling change for your orientation. My heart hammered as Monica's voice continued through the speaker. Jessica and Kevin leaned in close, their faces tense. We need to move your start date up to this Friday instead of Monday, Monica said cheerfully. I know it's short notice, but we just landed a huge client, Peterson Industries, and Mr. Morrison wants all hands on deck. Can you be here Friday morning at 8 a.m. for a quick orientation? You'll be jumping right into the Peterson campaign. Friday. The same day Marcus and Ryan planned to install their cameras. Yes, of course, I managed, trying to keep my voice steady. Friday works perfectly. Wonderful. Oh, and one more thing, Ryan from IT mentioned he'd be working late Thursday night doing some system updates, so if you see any maintenance activity in the building, that's totally normal. We're upgrading our security infrastructure. The blood drained from my face. Kevin grabbed my arm as I swayed. Security infrastructure? I repeated weakly. Yes, new cameras in all the common areas, updated access controls, the works. Ryan's been planning this upgrade for weeks. Very thorough young man. Monica's tone was so casual, so trusting. Anyway, see you bright and early Friday. I'll email you the parking details. She hung up before I could respond. The 3 of us sat in stunned silence. They moved your start date to the exact day they planned to install cameras, Jessica whispered. That can't be coincidence. Kevin was already typing furiously on his laptop. It's not. Look at this, Ryan submitted a request to work late on Thursday 3 weeks ago, the same day Marcus posted about accelerating their timeline. He pulled up Morrison's internal scheduling system. How the hell did you access that? I asked. Ryan's password is surveillance 123, not exactly high security. Kevin's fingers flew across the keyboard. Sarah, this is worse than we thought. Ryan isn't just installing hidden cameras. He's replacing Morrison's legitimate security cameras with modified versions that feed to his personal servers. You mean every camera in the building will be recording for him? Every bathroom, every office, every conference room. And because it's integrated with the official security system, nobody will ever suspect anything. Kevin pulled up building schematics that made my stomach lurch. Red dots marked camera locations throughout Morrison's offices. 47 camera feeds, all accessible remotely. He's not just targeting you, he's creating a surveillance network for the entire company. Jessica counted the red dots with growing horror. How many women work there? I thought about my interviews, the people I'd met. Maybe 60 or 70 employees total. At least half are women. Jesus, Kevin breathed. They're planning to spy on dozens of women without their knowledge. This isn't just about blackmailing you anymore, they're building an empire. My phone buzzed with an email from Monica containing parking instructions and my temporary ID badge information. Attached was a cheerful note. Ryan specifically requested to handle your IT setup personally since he knows you're nervous about starting. He'll get you all sorted with computer access, passwords, etc. Such a thoughtful team member. They've been planning this for months, I said, my voice hollow. Ryan getting hired there, gaining access to the security systems, earning everyone's trust. And I walked right into it. Kevin's expression hardened as he clicked through more of Ryan's files. There's something else. Ryan's been documenting other female employees already. Look at this folder labeled Current Assets. The folder contained dozens of photos clearly taken without consent, women at their desks, in the break room, walking to their cars. Each photo was labeled with a name, job title, and what Kevin called a marketability assessment. This one's dated last Tuesday, Jessica pointed out, her voice tight with anger. That's Jennifer Walsh from accounting. The rating says high value target, consider isolation protocols. Isolation protocols? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. Kevin clicked deeper into the files. It means they identify women who seem vulnerable or isolated at work, then focus surveillance on them specifically. Jennifer's been working late alone recently because of some audit. Perfect opportunity for closer documentation. My hands were shaking again. We have to warn her. We have to warn all of them. First we have to stop Thursday night from happening, Kevin said grimly. Because if Ryan successfully installs those cameras, he won't just have access to spy on dozens of women, he'll have covered his tracks so well that removing the cameras later will be nearly impossible without alerting him. The weight of it crashed over me. This wasn't just about my violated privacy anymore. Dozens of women were about to become unwitting victims in Marcus and Ryan's expanding surveillance operation, and I was the key that had unlocked it all for them. What if we can't stop them in time? I whispered. Kevin met my eyes with grim determination. Then we make sure we're ready to catch them in the act. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ryan's smug face from my interview, heard Monica's cheerful voice talking about his thorough security upgrades. At 3 a.m., I gave up pretending and went back to my laptop. That's when I found the live stream. Hidden in a subfolder Kevin had missed, Marcus had a real-time camera feed labeled Target Residence Exterior. My blood turned to ice as I realized I was looking at my own apartment building, filmed from across the street. The timestamp showed it was broadcasting live, and a chat window beside the video had 12 active viewers making comments about my building, my car, even speculation about which window was mine. She usually gets home around 6:30, one user had written yesterday. Sometimes brings grocery bags on Wednesdays. They were watching my daily routine in real time, selling access to my normal life like it was entertainment. I slammed the laptop shut and ran to my window, peering through the blinds at the building across the street. In a third-floor window, something glinted in the darkness. My hands shaking, I called Kevin. They're watching me right now, I whispered when he answered. There's a camera pointed at my building, and people are paying to watch a live feed of my street. Jesus Christ. Don't go near the windows. I'm coming over. Kevin, what if they know you and Jessica have been here? What if they're watching to see who's helping me? The silence on his end was answer enough. 20 minutes later, Kevin arrived through my building's back entrance, having parked 3 blocks away. He immediately started sweeping my apartment with a device that looked like a small radio. Your apartment's clean, he said after 10 minutes. But Sarah, we found the exterior camera. It's been there for at least 2 months based on the forum posts I missed earlier. He showed me his phone screen displaying Marcus's hidden feed. 47 people are currently paying $15 a month to watch your building. They call it lifestyle surveillance, subject daily patterns. I sink onto my couch, feeling violated in an entirely new way. 47 strangers know when I come and go. They know my schedule better than I do. It gets worse. Look at these chat logs. Kevin scrolled through weeks of comments. They're not just watching, they're coordinating. Someone followed you to David's apartment last weekend and posted his address. Another user tracked you to your parents' house and identified your dad's car. They know about David? About my family? Marcus has been building detailed profiles of everyone in your life. Your parents' work schedules, David's gym routine, even your friend Jessica. Kevin's voice was grim. They know Jessica helped you research this because they saw her car in your building's parking lot multiple times this week. The room felt like it was shrinking. So they know we're onto them. Probably. Which means Thursday night might be a setup. Kevin pulled up Morrison's building schematics again. What if they moved your start date specifically because they know you're aware of their plan? What if they want you in that building when they install the cameras? My phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number, excited for your first day Friday. Everything's going to go exactly as planned. This time, there was a photo attached. A screenshot from the live feed of my building, taken just minutes ago, with my living room window circled in red. Below it, a message, nice laptop. We can see you're doing research. I dropped my phone like it had burned me. Kevin immediately grabbed his own device and started typing rapidly. I'm killing the feed, he muttered, fingers flying across his screen. Launching a distributed denial attack on their servers. But even as Kevin worked to shut down their surveillance, I realized something that made my stomach drop completely. Kevin, I said quietly, if they can see my laptop screen from across the street, then they know exactly what we discovered about Morrison and Associates. He stopped typing and met my eyes with an expression of pure dread. Which means they know we're planning to stop them Thursday night. They've been watching us plan our entire counter-operation. The realization that they'd been watching us plan our counter-operation hit like a physical blow. Kevin immediately shut down his laptop and motioned for me to do the same, but the damage was already done. They'd seen everything, our research, our evidence gathering, probably even Kevin's attempts to trace their financial networks. We need to assume they know everything we discussed tonight, Kevin said, his voice barely above a whisper as he moved away from the windows. Which means Thursday night at Morrison is definitely a trap. But even as panic threatened to overwhelm me, something else crystallized in my mind, a cold, calculating anger that felt foreign but empowering. Good, I said, surprising both Kevin and myself with the steel in my voice. Let it be a trap. Kevin stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Sarah, you can't seriously be thinking of walking into. They've been treating me like I'm helpless. Like I'm just some victim they can exploit and manipulate. I stood up, pacing despite Kevin's warnings about the windows. But they made one crucial mistake. They got greedy. I pulled out my phone and opened the Morrison and Associates website, scrolling to their executive team page. Monica mentioned they just landed Peterson Industries as a client. That's a Fortune 500 company, Kevin. You don't win accounts like that unless your security infrastructure is absolutely bulletproof. What are you thinking? I'm thinking Morrison's real IT security team would never let a relatively new hire like Ryan make major system changes without oversight. Which means either Ryan's been incredibly careful about covering his tracks, or... I paused, the pieces clicking together. Or there's already someone at Morrison who knows something isn't right. Kevin opened his laptop again, this time shielding the screen from the window. You want to contact Morrison's head of IT? Better than that. I pulled up LinkedIn and searched for Morrison employees. I want to contact their chief security officer, Patricia Hammond. She's former FBI cybercrime division. If anyone would take a surveillance conspiracy seriously and know how to handle it properly, it's her. Sarah, it's almost 4 a.m. You can't call a CSO at 4 a.m. with a story about hidden cameras and revenge porn conspiracies. He was right, but I was already crafting an email in my head. I'm not calling. I'm sending a very carefully worded email about potential unauthorized security modifications scheduled for Thursday night, with just enough technical detail that she'll have to investigate. Kevin watched me draft the email, occasionally suggesting changes to make it sound more credible and less desperate. The final version was masterful in its calculated vagueness. Ms. Hammond, I'm Sarah Chen, starting at Morrison on Friday. I become aware of potential unauthorized modifications to building security systems scheduled for Thursday evening by someone claiming IT authority. Given Peterson Industries security requirements, I felt obligated to report this irregularity. I have documentation of planning communications that may constitute a security breach. Available for immediate consultation. Sarah Chen, incoming marketing associate. You're using a fake last name, Kevin observed. If they're monitoring my email, they'll see Sarah Chen and think it's some other employee. I hit send before I could second guess myself. Besides, Patricia Hammond will figure out who I really am quickly enough once she starts investigating. My phone immediately buzzed with a response. Despite the early hour, Ms. Chen, I'm awake due to unrelated security concerns. Can you be at Morrison at 5:30 a.m.? Service entrance on 42nd Street. Come alone and bring your documentation. P. Hammond. Kevin and I looked at each other in stunned silence. Either Patricia Hammond is the most dedicated CSO in corporate America, Kevin said slowly, or this is another trap. But something in the directness of her response felt genuine. Professional. Like someone who'd spent years dealing with real security threats and knew how to recognize them. There's only one way to find out, I said, already reaching for my jacket. And honestly? I'm tired of being afraid. The Morrison and Associates building at 5:30 a.m. looked like something from a noir film, all sharp shadows and empty windows reflecting the dim street lights. I stood at the service entrance on 42nd Street, clutching a flash drive containing everything Kevin had compiled, wondering if I was about to walk into another layer of Marcus and Ryan's trap. Patricia Hammond was nothing like I'd expected. Where I'd imagined a stern, corporate executive, I found a woman in her 40s wearing jeans and a Yankees hoodie, with tired eyes that missed nothing. She opened the service door before I could knock. Sarah Martinez, I presume, she said, using my real last name. I figured out who you actually were about 30 seconds after your email. Come on. She led me through empty corridors to an elevator that required 2 different keycards to access. The silence stretched between us until we reached the 38th floor, not the 42nd floor where my new department was located. This is our real IT security center, Patricia explained, opening a door to reveal a room that looked like mission control at NASA. Multiple screens showed camera feeds, network traffic, and system diagnostics I couldn't begin to understand. What Ryan Chen thinks is our main security infrastructure is actually just a public-facing layer. My heart hammered as the implications hit me. You already know about Ryan. We've known about Ryan since his second day. Patricia pulled up a chair beside a workstation covered in monitors. He was flagged by our background screening AI for employment pattern anomalies, specifically, a history of short-term positions at companies that later reported data breaches or employee privacy violations. She clicked through files that made my head spin. Screenshots of Ryan's forum posts, traced financial transactions, even photos of him placing small devices in various locations throughout the Morrison building. We'd been letting him think he's successfully infiltrating our systems while monitoring every move he makes. What we didn't know was the scope of his collaboration or the identity of his primary target. Patricia turned to face me directly. That would be you. I handed her the flash drive Kevin had prepared. There's more. So much more. For the next 20 minutes, Patricia reviewed our compiled evidence with the focused intensity of someone trained to see patterns others missed. Occasionally she paused to cross-reference something with Morrison's internal files, her expression growing darker with each new connection. Your ex-boyfriend Marcus Stevens, she said finally. He's not working alone, and Ryan's not his only employee. We've identified at least 4 other men in similar positions at companies around the city, all hired within the past 18 months, all with access to security systems, all connected to the same cryptocurrency networks. The scope of it staggered me. This is happening at other companies too? Mitchell and Associates downtown. Brennan Marketing on the Upper East Side. Dataflow Solutions in Brooklyn. Patricia pulled up a map with red pins marking locations across the city. We think they're running coordinated surveillance operations on professional women, specifically targeting those in entry-level positions at companies with valuable corporate clients. Why entry-level? Less likely to be believed if they report suspicious activity. More vulnerable to blackmail because they can't afford to lose new jobs. And Patricia paused, her expression grim. More likely to have student loans and financial pressure that makes monthly extortion payments seem preferable to career destruction. My mouth went dry. How many women are we talking about? Based on the network analysis your friend Kevin compiled, we estimate at least 47 active targets across the 5 confirmed locations. But Sarah, there's something else you need to know about Thursday night. She pulled up what looked like a detailed building schematic, but not of Morrison and Associates. My blood chilled as I recognized the layout of my apartment building. They're not just planning to install cameras at Morrison Thursday night, Patricia said quietly. They're planning to break into your apartment while you're here for your fake early orientation. The words hit me like ice water. Break into my apartment? Patricia nodded grimly, pulling up surveillance footage I recognized as the exterior feed of my building. We've been monitoring their communications since 3 a.m. While you're supposed to be here Friday morning for orientation, Marcus and 2 other men plan to enter your apartment to install what they're calling comprehensive lifestyle documentation equipment. My legs felt weak. I gripped the edge of her desk as she continued clicking through intercepted messages between Marcus and his collaborators. 12 cameras total, Patricia read from the screen. Bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, living room. Plus audio recording devices and something called intimate moment activation sensors that I don't even want to explain. She looked at me with genuine sympathy. Sarah, they're planning to turn your home into a 24/7 broadcast studio. The room spun around me. It wasn't enough that they'd been selling my past, they wanted to own my future too. Every private moment, every conversation with David, every phone call with my parents. All of it monetized for strangers. The timing isn't coincidental, Patricia continued, pulling up more evidence. They specifically requested that Morrison move your start date to Friday because they knew it would get you out of your apartment Thursday night. Ryan even suggested the 8 a.m. orientation time to ensure you'd stay overnight somewhere else to avoid morning traffic. I was going to stay at David's, I whispered, realizing how perfectly they'd manipulated me. Which they knew, because they'd been tracking his address since last month. Patricia's expression hardened. But here's what Marcus and Ryan don't know, we've been planning our own operation for Thursday night. She turned to a different monitor showing what looked like a tactical planning board. Photos of Marcus, Ryan, and 3 other men I didn't recognize were arranged around a timeline marked with precise entry points and surveillance positions. The FBI cybercrime unit has been building a case against this network for 8 weeks, Patricia explained. Your evidence filled in the missing pieces we needed, but more importantly, Thursday night gives us the opportunity to catch them in the act of multiple felonies simultaneously. You're using me as bait, I said, though I wasn't sure if I felt angry or relieved. We're giving you the choice to help us end this for good, not just for you but for all their victims. Patricia pulled up the list Kevin had found earlier, Jennifer, Amanda, Lisa, and dozens of other names. Or we can try to build cases against them individually, which could take years and leave them free to keep expanding their operation. My phone buzzed with a text from David, still on for dinner tonight? Been thinking about you all day, 2 hearts. Sweet David, who had no idea that strangers had been following him, learning his routines, planning to record our most intimate moments. How many other women were getting similar texts from boyfriends who didn't know they were being surveilled? How many relationships were being violated by Marcus's expanding network? What exactly are you proposing? I asked. Patricia smiled for the first time since I'd arrived, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. We let Marcus think his plan is working perfectly. You show up here Friday morning as scheduled, while FBI agents in your apartment catch him and his team in the act of breaking and entering, installing surveillance equipment, and attempting to create what legally qualifies as a surveillance-based extortion network. And Ryan? Ryan's been installing modified equipment all week, thinking he's being clever. What he's actually been doing is building us a comprehensive digital evidence trail of his criminal conspiracy. Patricia clicked to a screen showing network traffic that looked like a spider web. Every device he's touched, every system he's accessed, every file he's modified, we have records of all of it. The magnitude of their operation was staggering, but so was the scope of law enforcement's counter-operation. For the first time in days, I felt something that wasn't fear or violation. I felt hope. When do we start? I asked. Patricia's plan was elegant in its simplicity, but as she outlined the details, I realized how many things could go catastrophically wrong. At 6 p.m. Thursday, you'll post on social media about staying at David's place to avoid morning traffic for your big first day, she explained, pulling up a fake Instagram post they'd already crafted. Marcus and his team monitor your social accounts obsessively, they'll see it as confirmation that your apartment will be empty all night. I stared at the staged photo of David's living room they'd somehow obtained. How did you get a picture of his apartment? We didn't break in, if that's what you're asking. David's LinkedIn shows he works at Mercy General Hospital. We had agents interview him this morning as part of a routine security screening for hospital employees who might be targeted by cybercriminals. Patricia's expression softened slightly. He's been cleared and briefed. He knows everything, Sarah. My heart clenched. Everything? About the recordings, the sales, the stalking, all of it. He asked me to give you this. She handed me a folded note in David's handwriting. Sarah, none of this changes how I feel about you. You're the strongest person I know, and I'm proud of you for fighting back. Whatever you decide about Thursday, I support you completely. We'll get through this together. I love you. D. For the first time in days, tears that weren't from fear or rage filled my eyes. David knew the worst thing that had ever happened to me, and he was choosing to stay. There's more, Patricia continued, giving me a moment to compose myself. We've been in contact with 7 of Marcus's other victims over the past 48 hours. 3 of them want to be here Thursday night to watch these bastards get arrested. You found them? Kevin's financial trace led us to payment records. We cross-referenced those with missing persons reports, sudden job changes, and women who'd moved unexpectedly in the past year. Patricia's jaw tightened. Jennifer Walsh, the woman from Marcus's previous operation, attempted suicide last spring. She survived, but she's been in therapy ever since, thinking she was going crazy because she kept finding evidence that someone was watching her. The weight of how this had destroyed other lives settled over me like lead. Is she okay? She's getting better, especially now that she knows she wasn't paranoid. Her therapist says finally having validation that the surveillance was real has been transformative for her recovery. Patricia pulled up a photo of a young woman with kind eyes and a tentative smile. She specifically asked to be part of Thursday's operation. Said she wants to look Marcus in the eye when he realizes his empire is over. My phone buzzed with an unknown number, final preparations underway. Tomorrow night changes everything. Rest well, Sarah. Patricia saw the message and smiled grimly. Marcus has no idea how right he is. Tomorrow night will change everything, just not the way he expects. She walked me through the timeline one more time. At 8 p.m. Thursday, I'd arrive at Morrison for my fake orientation. FBI agents would already be positioned in my apartment building. At approximately 10 p.m., Marcus and his team would break in to install their equipment, at which point they'd be arrested on federal charges including conspiracy, cyberstalking, extortion, and running a criminal surveillance enterprise. What about all the footage that's already online? I asked. The websites, the sales, the subscribers who've seen everything? Federal prosecutors are working with tech companies to identify and remove the content. It'll take time, but we have legal orders freezing their cryptocurrency accounts and seizing their servers. Patricia's expression hardened. And every single person who purchased your footage will be investigated. Some of them have been actively participating in stalking and harassment, they'll face charges too. As I left Morrison that morning, I felt something I hadn't experienced since finding Jessica's email, control. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to Marcus's plans, I was part of a plan to destroy him. But I also knew that in less than 18 hours, everything would either be over, or become infinitely worse. That afternoon, I tried to maintain some semblance of normalcy while my entire world balanced on the edge of Thursday night. I went to work at the marketing agency where I'd been temping, answered emails, attended a meeting about holiday campaigns, all while knowing that in 12 hours, federal agents would be hiding in my apartment waiting to arrest the man who turned my life into profit margins. David met me for lunch at a small cafe downtown, and seeing him felt like stepping into an alternate reality where I was still just Sarah, not target subject or primary revenue stream. He looked tired, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from learning someone you love has been violated in ways you can't fix. Patricia said you wanted to be there tomorrow night, he said carefully, stirring his coffee without drinking it. Are you sure that's what you want? I'd been wrestling with the same question all morning. Part of me wanted to be far away when it all went down, somewhere safe where I could pretend to be normal until it was over. But a larger part needed to see Marcus's face when he realized his empire was crumbling. Those other women Patricia mentioned, Jennifer and Amanda and all the rest, they didn't get to fight back, I said. They just had to live with knowing someone had stolen their privacy and sold it to strangers. If I can help end this for all of us. David reached across the table and took my hand. Then I'll be there too. Patricia said they might need someone to stay with you during the operation anyway. You don't have to. Sarah. His voice was firm. These people have been selling videos of my girlfriend to strangers for months. They've been planning to record us together without our knowledge. This isn't just happening to you anymore. My phone buzzed with a message from Kevin, found something big. Can you meet me at your place in an hour? When David and I arrived at my apartment, Kevin was pacing in my living room with manic energy, his laptop open to what looked like cryptocurrency transaction records. They're liquidating everything, he announced without preamble. Starting this morning, Marcus and Ryan began converting all their crypto holdings to cash and moving it to offshore accounts. My stomach dropped. They know about tomorrow night? Either that, or they're planning to disappear right after they install the cameras in your apartment. Kevin pulled up bank records that made my head spin. Look at this $847,000 transferred to accounts in 3 different countries just since dawn. They're not planning to stick around for the long-term blackmail phase. David leaned over Kevin's shoulder, frowning at the numbers. That's almost $1 million. How much money were they making from this operation? More than we calculated. I found additional revenue streams, live streaming, custom video requests, even selling personal information about their targets to data brokers. Kevin's expression was grim. Sarah, they've made over $2.3 million from their surveillance network in the past 18 months. The number hit me like a physical blow. $2.3 million. My most intimate moments, my privacy, my sense of safety, all of it had generated enough money to buy a house, fund a comfortable retirement, change someone's entire life trajectory. There's something else, Kevin continued, his voice dropping. I traced some of the recent transactions, and Marcus made a payment yesterday to someone called Insurance Policy Solutions. It's not a real company, but the payment routing suggests it's connected to document destruction services. What kind of documents? David asked. The kind that could link him to surveillance equipment installations, financial records, victim identification files. Kevin met my eyes with an expression of pure dread. I think Marcus is planning to destroy all evidence of his operation after tomorrow night, including anything that could help law enforcement identify his other victims. My blood ran cold. You mean if we don't catch him tomorrow, some of those women might never know they were being recorded? Worse. If Marcus destroys the financial records, law enforcement won't be able to freeze the cryptocurrency accounts or trace the money back to victims for restitution. Kevin pulled up more transaction records. He's not just planning to disappear, he's planning to make it impossible to help the women he's victimized. I looked at David, then at Kevin, seeing my own realization reflected in their faces. Tomorrow night wasn't just about catching Marcus in the act anymore. It was our only chance to preserve evidence that could help dozens of women get justice and maybe even financial compensation for what had been stolen from them. If Marcus escaped or managed to destroy his records first, his victims would be left with nothing but trauma and the knowledge that their intimate moments were still circulating somewhere online, forever. The stakes had just gotten infinitely higher. At 4 p.m. Thursday, 3 hours before the operation was set to begin, my phone rang with Patricia Hammond's name on the caller ID. The tight control in her voice immediately told me something had gone wrong. Sarah, we have a problem. Ryan didn't show up for work today, and building security shows he accessed the Morrison servers remotely at 2:47 a.m. He downloaded everything. I sank onto my couch, David immediately moving to sit beside me as I put the call on speaker. What does that mean for tonight? It means he knows we've been watching him. Worse, it means he has copies of all our surveillance footage of Marcus's team, our planned arrest locations, even the safe house addresses we'd arranged for the other victims. Patricia's frustration was palpable. Ryan's not just Marcus's employee, he's his exit strategy specialist. Kevin looked up from his laptop where he'd been monitoring Marcus's financial transfers. Patricia, I'm seeing massive cryptocurrency movements in the last hour. They're not just liquidating, they're panic liquidating. Converting everything to cash at terrible exchange rates like they need to move fast. How much? Patricia asked. Another $340,000 since noon. At this rate, they'll have moved everything by midnight. Kevin's fingers flew across his keyboard. But here's the weird part, I found a new expense category that just appeared today. Marcus paid $25,000 to something called Permanent Solution Services. The silence on Patricia's end stretched long enough that I wondered if the call had dropped. When she finally spoke, her voice was strained. Sarah, I need you to pack a bag and get to Morrison immediately. Don't go back to your apartment under any circumstances. Why? What's Permanent Solution Services? Document destruction was our best case scenario. Permanent Solution Services is a company that specializes in making problems disappear completely. Patricia's words sent ice through my veins. They don't just destroy evidence, Sarah. They eliminate witnesses. David's hand found mine, squeezing tight as the full implications hit. Marcus wasn't just planning to destroy records, he was planning to make sure the women who could testify against him wouldn't be able to. The other victims, I whispered. Jennifer, Amanda, all of them. We're moving them to federal protection right now. But Sarah, you're the one with the most evidence, the one who started this investigation. You're their primary target. Patricia's voice grew urgent. How quickly can you get here? I was already grabbing clothes and shoving them into a bag. 20 minutes if traffic cooperates. David needs to come with you. Kevin too. They've been helping you research, which makes them targets as well. Patricia paused. And Sarah? Bring any evidence you have stored at your apartment. Physical documents, backup drives, anything. We may not get another chance. As we rushed around my apartment gathering everything that could be important, Kevin made a discovery that stopped us all cold. Oh shit, he breathed, staring at his screen. Marcus just posted in the forum. He's moved up his timeline. I looked over his shoulder at a message timestamped 7 minutes ago. Operation accelerated due to security concerns. All teams proceed to target locations immediately. Cleanup protocols now active. Subject elimination authorized if witnesses cannot be secured. David read over my shoulder, his face going pale. Subject elimination. They're talking about killing you. My phone buzzed with a text from the unknown number that had been haunting me. Change of plans, Sarah. We're coming for you now. You should have just taken the money. Through my living room window, I saw a black sedan pulling up across from my building, the same spot where Marcus's surveillance camera had been positioned. 2 men got out, one of them talking into what looked like a radio. Kevin, David, we need to leave right now, I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the terror coursing through me. Back exit. Move. As we grabbed our bags and headed for my apartment's rear stairwell, I realized that everything had changed in the last hour. This wasn't a carefully planned FBI operation anymore. This was survival. And Marcus was already hunting us. We made it to Morrison and Associates at 7:23 p.m., our hands shaking as Patricia's security team rushed us through underground parking into what she called the bunker, a fortified command center I hadn't seen that morning. Multiple screens showed FBI agents positioned around the city, including 3 teams surrounding my apartment building. Marcus's team is already at your building, Patricia announced, pointing to surveillance footage of 4 men with equipment bags entering through the service entrance. But here's what they don't know, we've been ready for this since noon. On the main screen, I watched Marcus himself appear in my hallway, looking exactly like the man I'd once loved except for the cold calculation in his eyes as he directed his team to different rooms in my apartment. Watching him handle surveillance equipment in my bedroom, the place where I'd felt safest with him, made my stomach clench with renewed rage. Teams Alpha and Bravo, you are go for entry, Patricia spoke into her headset. Subjects are in the building with criminal equipment. What happened next unfolded like a movie I couldn't quite believe I was watching. FBI agents flooded my apartment building from 4 different entry points simultaneously. The audio feed crackled with shouted commands, FBI. Nobody move, and drop the equipment. Hands visible. Marcus's voice, panicked and sharp, cut through the chaos, this is a setup. Ryan said the target was gone until morning. Ryan's in federal custody, came the reply from Special Agent Morrison, the lead investigator. He's been talking for the past 3 hours. The screen showing my bedroom captured Marcus's face as he realized his empire was collapsing. The arrogant confidence I remembered from our relationship crumbled into something desperate and pathetic. Within 6 minutes, all 4 men were in handcuffs. But Patricia's real masterstroke came next. Sarah, she said, handing me a microphone connected to the audio system in my apartment. Would you like to tell Marcus how this feels? My hands trembled as I took the microphone, watching Marcus on screen as agents cataloged the equipment he'd brought to further violate my privacy. David squeezed my shoulder encouragingly. Hello, Marcus, I said, my voice echoing through my apartment speakers. His head snapped up, looking around wildly for cameras he couldn't see. For 18 months, you sold my most intimate moments to strangers. You made $2.3 million turning my privacy into your profit. You planned to blackmail me, to force me to create content, to destroy my career and my relationships. My voice grew stronger with each word. But here's what you never understood about me, I'm not your victim anymore. Marcus was shouting something, but the agents had him face down on my bedroom floor where he'd planned to install cameras to broadcast my life to paying subscribers. Patricia pulled up financial records on the main screen. Federal prosecutors have frozen $1.8 million in cryptocurrency accounts, seized all servers containing victim footage, and identified 847 individuals who purchased illegal recordings. Every single buyer will be investigated and prosecuted. Kevin, monitoring the tech side, announced triumphantly, all victim footage has been scrubbed from the internet using federal deletion protocols. The websites are gone, the forums are seized, and the distribution networks are completely shut down. But the moment that felt like true justice came when Patricia showed me a video call screen with 7 other women, Jennifer, Amanda, Lisa, and 4 others whose names I'd only known as entries in Marcus's victim files. It's over, Jennifer said, tears streaming down her face. Sarah, because you fought back, it's finally over for all of us. Amanda nodded, her voice strong despite her obvious emotion. The FBI says we'll all receive restitution from the seized funds. Money won't undo what happened, but knowing these men will spend years in federal prison. And knowing no other women will go through what we did, Lisa added firmly. By 11 p.m., Marcus and his entire network were in federal custody facing charges that would put them away for decades. Ryan, in exchange for cooperation, had provided evidence connecting their operation to similar networks in 12 other cities, leading to the largest cyberstalking bust in FBI history. 3 months later, I started my real first day at Morrison and Associates. Patricia had offered me a position in cybersecurity, saying my experience made me uniquely qualified to help other victims. Marcus was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, and I received $847,000 in restitution, money I used to start a foundation helping women who'd been victimized by revenge porn and surveillance abuse. David and I moved in together, into an apartment with security systems we chose ourselves. Sometimes I still check the windows, still feel hyper-aware of cameras, but those moments are getting rarer. The best part? Last week, I got a letter from Jennifer. She'd gotten engaged to her therapist's referral, a kind man who knew her whole story and loved her anyway. She was starting law school to specialize in cybercrime victim advocacy. Marcus had tried to destroy us for profit, but instead, he'd created a network of women who would spend the rest of our lives making sure no one else went through what we had. That felt like real victory.